Okay, so the next question we have is concert tickets. Let me go through the problem. There are in-concert tickets available, each with a certain price. Then M customers arrive one after another. Each customer announces the maximum price they are willing to pay for each ticket. And after this, they'll get a ticket where with the nearest close possible price that it does not exceed the maximum price. So then our inputs are N and M, the number of tickets and the number of customers. And we have the next line, which contains H, the individual prices of each ticket. And the last line contains M integers, which are the maximum price for each customers as they arrive. So print for each customer the price that they are willing to pay for the ticket. After this, ticket cannot be purchased again. If the customer cannot get any ticket, print -1. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Is like here we just see that the idea is that we have 5 and 3. We have these tickets available 5, 3, 7, 8, 5, and then we have 4, 8, 3. So if someone comes in with the maximum price they're willing to pay as 4, there's no 4 tickets, so then they'll get the 3 one. If it's the 8 person, they'll just get the 8. And then if it's a 3 person, because the 3 has already been bought by the first person, then there's no more cheaper prices than 3. So then that means that they cannot buy any. So then that's why the output is -1. Okay, let's walk through how we would approach this. The the brute force way is obviously not possible because we see here that's 2 times 10 to the fifth and 10 to the ninth. That's way too big. There's no way we can do that. Because if we were to go through the list, iterate through one list, and then iterate through the other list, that's too long. That's not going to work out. So one of the things I learned from this problem is to use a multi-set. What I mean by multi-set is that this is a really good data structure to that keeps track of order as well. It keeps track, it allows for multiple duplicates where it stores how many values of each you have. So it's more powerful than a normal set we have in math. So here we do include IO stream, algorithm, yeah, the typical ones, but we also need to include set to have the multi-set. And then the typical input, so that's faster, cin.ty, because we see that it's pretty big numbers. And then we input in and m, which is our first input. And we also set price and max price. And then what we do here is that we have a multi-set. This is how we define multi-set. And then we define them to be all integers, where we call it tickets. And then we have a for loop that we get the price. So we input the price, then we get inserted into the tickets. So that's how we like add something to it, to a multi-set. Next, we use a for loop to, instead of n, we get it to m because that's the next set of inputs. And then we input the max price, and then we would have an iterator. We just call it, let's say it. And then it would just be the upper bounds of the maximum price. What this does is that it looks for the price that is at the maximum, the first element that is strictly greater than the maximum price, because this is the upper bound. So what this does is, for instance, let's say my input was 7 and I'm looking for inside this. Then the next input it would give is the iterator to 8, not 7, because it's strictly greater. So then I could have an if loop. If I check my it is at the beginning, that means that there wasn't such an element. It's like there's no such thing. So then I would return a -1. Otherwise, I know that my iterator, my maximum that I'm willing to pay is the element just before that. Because I'm checking there's this point, and I know that it's definitely just before that point. So then I would just output minus that, -1 from that, and I would output where my pointer is. And then obviously, because I know that I took one and I can't be purchased again, the ticket can't be purchased again, I would have to erase one of them. And here, because I use the iterator and not specifically the value, it would just remove one. But a careful thing is that if I put in a value and say erase, then it would remove all. But because in this case, my it is my iterator, it would just point to that one and it would just remove that. So that's why it works out here. And I would just return. So I think that's pretty straightforward. I think the major thing here is just knowing about the existence of multi-set and how well it fits in this problem.